thank the eldership for giving us a platform like this, that we might be able to come and to report to you the things that are happening, because we are to let our good works be known. So it's important that we report on those. So when I sit down, Brother Allen will come up and talk about what Bucket by Bucket is doing, drilling wells in sub-Saharan Africa to be able to provide clean living water for the citizens in those areas, and the evangelistic opportunities. Let's not lose sight today of that being our goal. Let me share with you now a new ministry, God is Good Missions, that really began with a personal decision to help 8 children. They're pictured in our newsletter today as they're walking to the church services on the Lord's Day. They live in Moshi, Tanzania, Africa. While I was in Tanzania this past March, I got to visit with them in their own rented house. They're very needy, but I saw even more extreme need than this when I went to Mosquito River and looked at that poverty-stricken area and what the church and the resources they must have to help their children and that are orphaned or abandoned or in extreme poverty, where food, they're missing meals and other necessities of life. Our ministry has now grown to not 8 children, but around 45 children. Africa is home to around 30% of all the world's orphaned children, one report says. Another statistic tells us that 1.3 million of these children live in Tanzania. There's a lot of children around the area that we've been working with for the last 14, 15 years at Mosquito River. Gasper and Selena, who worked with that work, those children, and works with the church there, and Gasper also is working with the school there. They showed me a document when I was there, and this document was from the government. And the government said that they wanted to give the Church of Christ in Mosquito River permission to take care of these children that are named on this document. Well, that immediately told me 2 things. Interestingly enough, you have to go through a lot of paperwork, a lot of red tape to be able to help anybody in Tanzania legally. And so what the government was doing was bypassing all of that. You don't have to be an NGO. You don't have to do this. You don't have to set up this organization. This paper will give you permission straight from the government. So it tells us a couple of things, that the need is great there. That they need help with their responsibility of taking care of their own citizens. But also, it tells us that the Church of Christ in that area has a very good reputation for helping people, especially needy people, and giving hope and direction in times of trouble. God is Good Missions helps underprivileged children, especially orphaned and abandoned children with basic needs, food and clothes. We hope to connect them with American sponsors over here that can help a few dollars a day to make their life sustainable, give them food, and make a difference with them. So I want to thank you and have this opportunity to thank you this morning and to say God bless you. We have been involved with mission work for a number of years, and this congregation has always come through with help with our trips. We had a big one last year, the biggest one ever, but we made it through it with your help and with your prayers. So continue to pray for all that we do in our congregation, the work that we plan on doing, and especially our mission work as we talk about it more today. When I came back home from the March trip, I was encouraged to set up a nonprofit with tax exemption, and we have that now. we wanted a logo, so the picture behind you is a picture that was taken back in 2004. I know Alan recognizes it. But the man's hand is Cotton Box's hand. Clovis Box had taken a trip in 2004, probably was that our first trip to Tanzania. And he was sitting there in a chair, and a young Tanzanian child came and put his hand inside of Brother Box's hand, and that was it. After that, I don't know how many trips he took to Tanzania. Maybe 25 or 30 trips. Sometimes he'd go 2, 3, 4 times a year. As soon as he could scrape up enough money for the plane, he would get back on it and go and help. But I was thinking this is the picture that I wanted us to see today. So I called Gary and I said, can I use the picture? And he quickly gave me permission and said Cotton would like that. So I want us, as we go through the next few pictures, and as we look at Alan's slides too in a few minutes, to keep in mind the bigger picture. The bigger picture, Alan, I'm going to steal a statement that he makes a lot. The goal is the soul. Okay? I've got another one to add to it. It's not the project, it's the person. In James chapter 1, verse 27, James reminds us that what pure religion is, undefiled before God and the Father, is this: to visit the fatherless and the widows in their afflictions, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. This is a photograph that was taken. I took this picture. As you can see, there's different levels of poverty for our children in Tanzania. This child in the front has a gold ring on, and you'll also notice some gold chains around his neck. These are some Mungari children. While they should have been at school during this time, they're out working, making money for their families. And so there is some poverty level here because there's some things that they're neglecting to get. As candy is one of them, as you see how excited they are to get pee-pee. That's the Swahili term for candy. And so we had fun with the children here on this day. But it reminds us of how many children there really are scattered around without a lot of supervision. This whole family is from one family. They gathered together for a Bible study one day, and the man in the back, the tallest one, that's Frank. And so now we call this his family Frank's kids. But the small children, there's about 12 of those, and we're helping Frank's kids. But Frank reminded me, I'm an orphan too, he says. I'm only 27 years old, and I've just lost my father, and I've lost my mother. So I'm one of your orphans too. And I'm having to take care of this big family now because his father is from the Maasai tribe, which they have no problem marrying 2 or 3 wives, and he had 3 of them. And so when he passed away, he left all the stepmothers under Frank's care and all his stepbrothers and sisters. And so he has a big family to take care of. This is one of our projects. After I left in March, this was a Bible study this day. Frank was baptized, and I'm not sure about his wife yet, but he's helping us now in this ministry. And he's also he's a manager at the Green Gate Hotel, where I was able to spend some time while I was there. This little child is from Kambi Yachui, Leopard Village. In Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10, the scriptures tell us that as we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially those of the household of faith. And we want to put our arms around each of the children that we're helping, just like this grandparent is picking up this child. She actually put her hands around her and picked her up for the picture to make her taller. And she and her sister are getting some basic needs now. When we first started, actually we started May the 1st, so this is brand new, but it's kind of funny. In my mind, I pictured, I know the plan was to get 5 gallons of buckets and pour corn in those, fill them up, and when we go to visit, we're going to leave that bucket there in the home of the children. And then the next month, we'll visit again. We'll pick up the empty bucket and leave another bucket. I didn't know they could get all these colors, Alan. And so I was sent this picture, and this is not 25 buckets yet. They had the 25 buckets. I guess they couldn't get them all in the picture, but they wanted them all single file buckets. But you probably can't see it from the picture, but Canisa La Cristo, or Church of Christ, is written on each of these buckets. And these are church members, and this was taken inside the church building at Mosquito River. And so this is kind of the work crew that's helping with God is Good missions right now. The visits have been going great. The evangelistic opportunities are out the door, and we'll talk about that in just a minute more. This is Margaret. Margaret and her mother have just become Christians. Her grandmother was a Christian and worshiping at Mosquito River Church. Now Margaret and her mother sit together and worship with their grandmother. And Margaret's a very educated young lady, but she didn't have a job. And when I was in their home talking with them and teaching with them, she told me about all the certificates that she was able to obtain, and yet she did not have any work, any income coming in for the family. So we were able to find this pedal machine for her, and I'm sorry, it looks like she's about to cry. She probably is about to cry. She probably hasn't had her picture taken too often, but she's really happier than what you see in this picture. About this, getting this machine. She is so happy about it because she's going to start, she wants to begin sewing clothes for the children. So we're waiting on material now so that Margaret can begin sewing shirts and different items for the children. This is Wilford. Wilford has full sponsorship now, which means about $75 a month. Gives him his school fees and even medicine if he needs it. He's holding his 5-gallon bucket of corn. And he'll also get mosquito net and a mattress. And the mattresses they just lay on the floor because there's no wooden beds or anything in their homes. It just, they sleep on the floor, basically. Not on the dirt, but they'll put down animal skins. They'll sleep on animal skins. So we're hoping that his mattress will come soon. I didn't go back and change some of these words, Cindy, so don't get me in trouble too much when I get home. But I was so wanting the names of all the children that we identified 25 at Mosquito River. And then there's Frank's kids, and then there's 8 more in Moshi, which is 45 children. And I said, send me the names. I want the names, 25 names, 25. Well, I got the names, and I was thinking, why was I so anxious about the names? I can't pronounce any of them. So here are 3 brothers and their names. So what I did was pick and choose different. I took out some letters here and there, and I made them I Americanized their names and gave them some nicknames, but that S is supposed to be at the bottom. That's Saban on the left. That's Eam in the middle, and that's now Nate on the right. Now I can remember who they are. But they've got you can see Canisa La Cristo on that one. Okay, that's Church of Christ. I said, be sure to put that on all the buckets. We want the church to get the glory. Here's what happened. These kids and others began coming to the church services. Here's one class, there's only like 35 being shown here, but they had 59 or 69, I forget that number, recently in their Bible class for their kids. So the evangelistic opportunities, as I mentioned before, they're there. And all these sweet children are getting taught. the stories of Jesus. Also, when I was there in March, I had the opportunity to teach at the public school. We're hoping that our kids can eventually end up there. This is a brother and sister who are twins. That word depart should be impart from Luke chapter 9, verse 3. Our mission statement, God's good missions, GIG'em, will assist underprivileged children with basic needs of spiritual enlightenment, especially those without parents. We have a mission to save the children whom we may have the opportunity to touch. Things we try to provide: food, mosquito nets, mattresses, school fees, clothes, shoes, Bibles, medical assistance. Sponsors get pictures and reports. These are full sponsors, get pictures and reports about the children. They're helping. We have the unique ability to work closely with our volunteers. We can give sponsors FaceTime with the children. They are helping. I don't know of another organization that can give FaceTime to international children that they're helping. So I'm thankful to be able to provide that. When I mentioned about our 45 children recently to Janice, Sister Janice here, I said, I know y'all got a few hats maybe left over. Would you happen to have 45 hats that we could send over for the 45 children? She said, no, but I'll work on that. And so each one of the hats, I've got them back here in the elder's office, have this tag on them: handmade with love by the ladies of the Northport Church of Christ Baby Bogging Group. We're sure thankful for that, because they actually need them right now. They're in their winter time, and they get cold. It's only like maybe, 78 outside, but it's just cold. Okay, my last slide, Psalm 118, verse 1. I'm doing good, Alan. You're gonna have plenty of time. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, because his mercy endures forever. Thank you for allowing me to report on this good work. And we look forward to Alan coming now and listening to what he has to say about Bucket by Bucket.
Okay. I don't know how to make this present correctly, but, there we go. That's the one I'm after. Good morning, everyone. Some of you have seen this. Those who were at the benefit dinner last year have seen this. I decided to go through it again because I got a lot of comments after the dinner. I didn't realize what y'all did. Everybody knows we drill wells, but I don't know that they understand the impact of it all. So I'm going to go through this. Let me get my timekeeper before I do it, because I will lose track if I don't. I will go through this, and I think we can get through it. And hopefully it enlightens you. It lets you know. I appreciate as Greg said, I appreciate the eldership for giving us time to do this. Appreciate the suggestion that let's focus on a couple of things instead of, if you look at the back of your missions bulletin, you'll see that's quite the list. And it would be impossible to cover all of that with any kind of justice. So this is the two things that we're doing, and I'll speak more on that when I do the welcome at the worship hour. But our story with Bucket by Bucket, and the Keys are here, and some others, and they saw this. When we went to Tanzania in 2015, the end of 2015, we had gotten some extra money right at the end, right before we left. And so what we did is we decided to put in a well, and that's that top picture there. And these three guys showed up in flip-flop shorts and a bucket and a rope and some tools and dug a 3-foot diameter hole straight down 63 feet. I was amazed. Next time somebody complains at work, remind them of this. you could be digging wells in Africa. And this was our first well. It wasn't really a bucket by bucket well because it hadn't been conceived of. It was just a help to those in that area. We got home and the well had come in and many villagers were coming to get water. And then we started getting reports of Bible studies from these people coming to get water because over there, the Tanzanians, I mean, here too in many cases, but over there, the Tanzanians are very evangelistic. They want to tell everybody about the church and about Jesus. And Bible studies were cropping up, and then souls were being converted, and the Lord was doing great things through this water that someone had given us the money to do. And it got to me. And I lay awake at night like, how do we repeat this? How do we make this happen again? Because this is amazing. And talked to some trusted brothers and asked their advice. And the answer I got back every time was almost, well, we need to repeat this. We need to repeat this. So through that, Bucket by Bucket was born. And as Greg said, it takes a lot of red tape to found an organization, both with the IRS and the Tanzania Revenue Authority. But we got established and began in January of 17. And this actually is the rig from the last well we drilled, which was where we dug that well. Over time, a dug well will become unviable. It will become contaminated because everybody there has an outhouse, and that's, you can fill in the rest for yourself. But that's kind of how that went. So we have 11 sites, but we've put in 13, 14 wells because we've had to go back and redo. But that's okay, we're learning. But that's our story. Sorry, hit the wrong button again. Technology challenged. What we do is we put in wells and we exclusively drill now at properties of the Lord's church. And the reason we do that is I did some research before we started, and the success rate on wells in sub-Saharan Africa was like less than 50, it was 48 point something percent. I thought, well, that's kind of a bad number. And got to digging around. The problem is no one's tending to them. No one's watching over them. No one's able to mine them. And we've actually lost a well due to vandalism. So it needs to be somewhere where there are going to be people and it'll be kept an eye on and that sort of thing. So, but the other reason we do this is the part that got me excited in the first place was, yes, it's great to give people water that need it. It needs to be done. And there's a lot of organizations out there doing that, was the evangelistic piece. The fact that souls were coming to Christ because the Lord's church was able to meet a need. I thought that was fantastic. So these three pictures are three of our sites. Which way is it going to be? Okay, on that side, that's Mbagala. It's actually in Dar es Salaam. It's a very urban area. But believe it or not, in Dar es Salaam, probably 10 to 15% of the people have water in a city of 7 million people. And that's staggering to me. But they have to walk to get water, and they're dipping it out of creeks and ditches just like the people in the country are. So, and since we put this well in, this is a success story. I got to quit storytelling so much, but they're all success stories. But this one here, this congregation has actually had to add on to their building by a third. The daycare that they ran in a small building on their property has doubled in size because they have running water. And the elders there, they have elders, one of the few congregations that does, decided to put showers in the backside of that daycare, and some of the children that they care for, that's the only shower they get. And so I think that's fantastic. And hygiene is a number one way that waterborne diseases are carried. In the middle, that's Maji Achai, which means basically river of tea, or tea water. And then, which tells you something about the water quality in the area. So that's a well, and then the other one is in Mwanza, out by Lake Victoria. Some of you may recognize that smile. That's Christopher Mwakabanji, right in the center with the blue outfit on. He's been involved with the work since before I got involved with the work over there. So far, these are the projects we have. And we'll talk about a couple of them a little later on. But Talawanda, that one on this side, next to, well, it looks close. It's not that close to Mbagala. Tanzania is a pretty good-sized country. was a dry hole, only one we've hit so far. We have a geological survey done every time. That one missed. We hit mud, but we didn't hit water. So what we did is went back and put in a rainwater system for them. I forget, it's 52,000 liters or something like that, to give them enough water to get through the dry season, as long as they're frugal with it. And so that's our projects. If we are able to get our own rig, which will drill a little deeper than the rig we had rented, we may go back and try that again. We will see how it goes. The humanitarian impact, picture's worth 1,000 words. It can't be missed. It can't be misunderstood. The need is great. When your water comes out of places that you see on the left side of your screen, then there's ample opportunity for waterborne diseases, for things like that to happen. I seriously, I've missed pictures like this because I couldn't get a control of my emotions sometimes with kids getting water out of some of these spots. There's one that I didn't take, and I wish I had taken it because it's a powerful picture. But we were driving out to Mungary, and there's a big government dug hole there, and they do that all over the country. So during the rainy season, it fills up with water, and it lasts as long as it lasts. Well, there were all these kids out there, just like this picture, filling their buckets, and on the other side of that pond were everybody's cattle standing in the water drinking. So that's where they're at. But again, the humanitarian impact is huge, can't be overstated, and is necessary. This is the part. This to me is the hammerhead. This is what makes it exciting. It's a spiritual impact. We've taken some polls, and it's hard to get, and Greg will tell you, it's hard to get accurate numbers in Tanzania. They're not as statistically bound as we are. They don't, it just doesn't mean as much. But the numbers that I get back, if I average those out and try to make what I would consider to be probably closer to a real number, is in the first year of every well we've done, there has been dozens of conversions, hundreds of Bible studies. Now that does plane out over time, but it never dies out. And every well we do, the spiritual impact is huge, and over time just continues to grow. And the fact that, I struggled with this at first. The fact that we're giving them water, okay, well, then they feel bound to. No, they really don't. That's not the way they think. We may think that way, but that's not the way they think. They're amazed that anybody would do this. One of the biggest things that people ask when they first come to get water is how much for the water? There's a lot of people over there who can't afford to put in a well or put in a well and then charge their neighbors for water to pay for the well. Well, we don't do that. And we've had a couple of congregations ask us for a well, and we always have a conversation with them, and we make them sign a contract that they will never charge for water. And some of them won't do that. They want to make their congregation sustainable, which I understand, but they want to use the well to do it, and that's not what I want to be associated with. Not that it's necessarily wrong to do that, but that's not what we're about. What we're about is meeting the need so that the spiritual need can be met. And one of the big impacts for them is the fact that it's theirs. They can come get water whenever they want. There's no conditions. There's no, you have to come back to church. There's none of that. It's just come get water. And over time, and they get to know the members, because there's always somebody around the building, usually, and these things happen. The picture in the middle is out at Casabizio, which is kind of the west of the country, and they I don't know how they got the funding, but they got that portable baptistry bought, and now they bring it out when they have a baptism right next to that's not a building, that's our water tower for bucket by bucket. And if you notice behind you, between there and the red church building, there's rows. That's all garden. When we went there to put the well in, it was scrub ground, guys. It was rocks and thorns, and it looked like that part of Africa. And within months of the well coming in, they had cleared that land, tilled it over, and were growing crops. And so they're blessing their community in multiple ways. It's just tremendous the way the brethren there are wrapping their hands around this thing and glorifying God with it and bringing souls to Christ. The opportunities abound. There's 400, depending on, again, it's hard to get a real count on anything, 400 to 700 congregations in Tanzania. At one time, there were like 5. The work has grown and can continue to grow. I would like to grow beyond Tanzania, if the Lord blesses us. If you look at that map, it's kind of hard to see if I can blow that up or not. Yeah. Those dark blue areas are where economic water scarcity is, which means there's water there for the most part. They can't afford to get to it. The normal, everyday person can't get to it because of the cost of drilling or the difficulty in laying pipe or whatever. The Lord blesses us enough, we can help with that. The first country that contacted me after we got started in Tanzania was a brother from Cambodia. And I'm like, Cambodia, there's water everywhere in Southeast Asia. There's not water, drinkable water everywhere in Southeast Asia. So if we were to help there, it would be more of a water filtration effort and less of a well effort. Northern India, all of sub-Saharan Africa, and even Peru, Bolivia, and places like that. It's amazing that the Lord would have these opportunities, and us and our prosperity can help. So, let me tell you a story on this one. I'll stop it here in a second. Pause that right there and let y'all look at that. This was the one well we've done that was not on church property, and it was done at the behest of the Tanzanian government. They wanted a well at a school. And staying in good graces with them is very important to us to be able to continue. So we did. It's an elementary school. There's about 1,000 kids there, a little over 1,000 kids there. This is the first day we turned it on. And we just kind of turned it on. Don't do that. Turned it on, left it running, and let the kids just enjoy it. And it's even Ellie Martin, our guy on the ground there, the Tanzanian that kind of heads up our projects, was blown away. He said, I've never seen this. That child now knows that this water came from Christians. It came from the Lord's church. God is being glorified in everything we do. A little bit about our structure. We are completely cost-free on the U.S. side. I want every dollar I can to go there. Now, someday, if the Lord blesses, I'll probably have to hire somebody smarter than me to keep me out of jail without arrest. But till that day comes, we use volunteer help. Our costs stateside to cover a few things are about $3,000 a year. The rest of it all goes over there. We do have staff there. Ellie is our project guy. His wife, Naaman, is our secretary. And then we have an office girl. I've forgotten her name again. I'm awful with names. But in order to be a legitimate NGO, you have to have 3 full-time employees for the Tanzanian government. That's their way of making sure the NGO is giving back at some level. So if you go online, and I say this part hesitantly, but I think it's important because a lot of people don't know this. And if you want to know more details, talk to Robert. He's researched it more than I have. If you go online and look at the public information, which every charity's information has to be public, and the overhead on some of these huge water charities, 55, 60%, some of them, is overhead. That's paychecks, folks. And when you're a $20 million charity, it gives me pause. If we ever get to the point where something like that is going to have to happen, I'm going to have to find something else to do because I can't stomach that. I would rather break it up and stay small in multiple places maybe and make sure that money goes where it counts. And I've said money too many times, but nothing happens for free. I would love it if money wasn't an object, but it's something that we have to deal with, and we have to raise the money. We have to allocate that money, and we have to keep things moving forward. And we've had some lean times. COVID was a whack But it's picking up pace again, and a lot of that is your generosity. We've got a few minutes left. We've got about 7 minutes left. So if anybody has a question for Greg or I, now would be the time. Sir. Okay. Thank you, John. We're in the process of trying to raise money to buy a drilling rig, and there, inside of your missions flyers is some information about that. If we can do this, and it's expensive, if we can do this, it's prime well rigs out of India. They're refurbished rigs, the best deal we could find for getting a rig in country. It's about $180,000, $190,000 for a rig. We're going to spend another 30 to 40 after that to build a yard, a secure yard to keep it in, a place to repair our equipment, and that sort of thing. But we're on the road with that. It's going slow, but it's going steady, so I'm very encouraged by that. Currently, we spend anywhere from $13,000 to $15,000 to put in a well. And the reason for that is there's very few rigs in country. You have to get on the waiting list and wait for the rig, and then they know they can charge us what they want, basically, because there's no other way to do it. But $8,000 or $9,000 of that $14,000 is drilling a hole. It's poking a hole in the ground. I've had them send me itemized budgets before we do a job, because it kept going up and up and up, and I didn't even know what we're paying for. And so that's what it is. If we get our own rig, now we're $5,000, and we can put in a well. And that's going to change everything. The other small piece of that is the way the Tanzanian tax laws are written, is if we go drill a well for Mr. Charlie's farm, he can pay us the price of a well as long as that money goes back into the charity. So we start becoming more self-sustainable, and that's exciting because, I ain't gonna be here forever. I don't know who the next guy might be, if there's a next guy. So the opportunity's there. And I was gonna save this for the welcome, but the collection today is gonna be split between Bucket by Bucket and God is Good. It's gonna be distributed between those two efforts. And I appreciate anything you can do. If it's a word of encouragement, I'll take it. If it's a prayer, I will definitely take it. And I'm sure Greg feels the same way. Greg is actually on the board of Bucket by Bucket. He and I work very close together at many, many levels. So don't think of it as an either or. So well, I can only give $50, we'll give 25 each. Do whatever. But the way it's going to work is the collection's coming in, and then the eldership will distribute it. So, anything else? Did that explain what you wanted, John? Okay. All right. The rest of the time is yours.